Wow, yeah. So we continue. We got more black Europeans uncovered. We start with the Kirkland Files. We have here the personal story of the Upper House by Cosmo Wilkinson. And we go to page 238 of this book. And over here is in reference to Charles Lennox and his father, Charles II. We already know, based on primary sources, these individuals are described as so called black or Negroid people, dark complexion, swarthy. And so we just have another source here. It says here, among the lords of the bedchamber to George I was a nobleman who, in his appearance and habits, sometimes startled observers from his resemblance to Charles II, a black man, right? The same easy, indolent, self indulgent, good nature, perfect breeding, and constitutional dislikes of method and punctuality, the same well molded features and figure, and the same complexion, dark as midnight. Okay? Dark as midnight. Complexion, dark as midnight. Again, dark as midnight. We're not interpreting here, we're not blackwashing. That's the truth. These were black Europeans. Charles Lennox, his dad, Charles II, so called black Europeans. They belonged to George's courtier and his Stuart predecessor. Such was Charles Lennox, first Duke of Richmond, son of Charles II, by the lady who became Duchess of Portsmouth. Okay, we're talking about the Jacobites. You say Richmond's presence, okay? That's who we're talking about. Black Europeans. Another reference here. All right, and now we're in this book. It's called the Historical Manuscripts Commission, 15th Report, Appendix Part 1. These are the manuscripts of the Earl of Dartmouth, Volume 3, and this is from 1896. So over on page 25 of this book, we go to this paragraph right here. They're talking about Peter II, or Pedro II, from Portugal. This is one of the brothers of the Braganza sisters. We got a whole video on the Braganza, right, sisters, and how they were described as so-called black as well. And it says here, he then describes the fortifications, mercantile commodities, and the country. He says that the king, Don Pedro Pereira, right, Peter II from Portugal, third son of King John, born the 26th of April, 1648, is of a very black complexion. Okay? Very black complexion. Tall, well set, and strong, having that power with his hands that can be forced a horseshoe asunder. That he can force a horseshoe asunder. Sorry. His apparel is commonly of black English base. He is a great admirer of perukes, which he wears in largeness to excess. All right. So we got Prince Pedro Pereira, or King. He's a king now. This is Peter II of Portugal, the son of King John. Very black complexion. Let me zoom into that part. Very black complexion. Do you guys see that? And they actually do mean skin, dark skin, guys. All right? Black Europeans. All right. And we go into the Miko files now. It says here, Sir Henry Morgan, Buccaneer, by Ronald Syme. Illustrated by William Stubbs, William Morrow and Company, 1965. All right. Shout out to Miko. In page 10 of this book, we get a little description of Henry Morgan. It says here in this paragraph, in the year 1665, 30-year-old Henry Morgan came back to Jamaica. Now he was a tough, heavy-chested, swaggering fellow who spoke with a strangely soft Welsh accent. He had mixed with buccaneers for 10 years, but he still remained curiously different from them. The hard recklessness of his dark face, all right? His dark face. They don't just mean like he looks mean. I mean, literally, dark complexion, dark skin, dark face was rendered less ferocious by wide-set, imaginative eyes. His curved mustache was fierce, yet the whole expression of his face was that of a man who, however brutal, has not entirely lost his sense of humor. He guzzled enormously and could drink a bottle of rum without thinking twice about it. Whenever he had gold in his pocket, and so on and so on. That goes to the next page. Again, this is page 10. His dark face. All right. You don't believe it? We got another source describing him a different way. All right, let's go to that right now. In this book, it says here, Terror of the Spanish Main, Sir Henry Morgan and His Buccaneers by Albert Marin. Okay, this is the book we're about to get into. In page 3 of the prologue, we talk about Sir Henry walked straight ahead, turning neither to the right nor the left, meaning he served both sides of the wars. He was a pirate, you know. Yet his manner and the way he carried himself showed that very little escaped his sharp eyes. A man of medium height and muscular build, he weighed about 175 pounds, had black hair reaching down to his shoulders, and had a nut brown complexion. A nut brown, okay? Nut brown. Just picture that. Nut brown. You see the color, right? Complexion. Talking about Henry Morgan, Captain Morgan, right? The result of many years spent in the tropics. They're saying, oh, because he got a tan, he's not brown. A mustache started thin under his nose and ended in round bulbs at either end. A tuft of hair, just the barest suggestion of a beard, grew under the center part of his lower lip. Okay? Nut brown complexion. On page 228 at the end of the book, just want to read here. It also gives another reference, the same one, but in a different way. I want to read here. It says, yet in odd way, Sir Henry Morgan still lives. Elderly fishermen tell a story said to be older than their grandfathers' grandfathers. Listen to this. They are black people, heirs to the island the Buccaneers defended and enriched. Talking about Jamaica, right? Where your descendants, a lot of these Sephardic Jew pirates are your ancestors too. On dark nights, when the moon hangs in a black velvet sky like a golden Dublin, they say you can hear a distant changing of a ship's bell. After a while, a shadowy vessel with billowing sails slips over the western horizon. Now, down here again, it says, you may see the cruise leader standing on the bridge, a man of medium height. They're talking about Henry Morgan here. Again, and muscular build, he wears his black hair, shoulder length, and has a nut brown complexion. Gold rings dangle from his ears, okay? Gold rings from his ear, and he carries a pistol inlaid with ivory of a nut brown complexion. Henry Morgan, the pirate. So we continue with more black Europeans. We're in the CW files, and we're in this book here. It's called The Historical Manuscripts Commission. The report on the manuscripts of the late Allen George Finch, Esquire, of Burley on the Hill, Rutland. This was volume 2. And this is from 1922. So we're on page 492 of this book. And this time, this is going to be in reference to John Mackay or McKee. If you guys don't remember, that's actually the guy who went to spy, right? That was the spy who went and described all these black Jacobites in our Jacobite videos from the past. You guys remember him? The memoirs of John McKee, the spy, right? So this is a reference of what he looks like. We're going to also see that he is also a black European. And it says here, the same to the mayor of Harwich. Again, these are letters and notes and archives, right? This is a note from November 27th, 1690. It says, Whitehall, desire him to carefully examine all passengers coming from beyond seas, as one Mr. McKee, a Scotchman, is said to be coming out of France, by way of Flanders or Holland, upon some treasonable practices and designs. All right, he's a spy. He is about 25 years of age, of a black complexion. You guys see that? Black complexion, with a black wig and brown clothes. If discovered, he is to be seized and secured. All right. So zooming in, as you guys can see, of a black complexion, black European John McKee, the spy. And we continue here with some more black Europeans uncovered. CW files, it says here, an historical account of the conspiracies by the Earls of Gomey and Robert Logan of Restalric against King James VI of glorious memory, containing the facts, proofs, and judgments in these causes, to which is added a vindication of Robert III, King of Scotland, and all his descendants, from the imputation of bastardy, by George Earl of Cromarty. Okay, and so on and so on. This is from 1713. It's going to show some of these soldiers here. And we go to page 60 right here in this book. And we're just going to read a little bit here first. And it says here, and the deponent remembers that at that time there were more persons in the chamber with the Earl of Grory by Mr. Thomas Craftoun, but knew name of them. He didn't know their name, except he believes that in black man, all right, you guys see that? That a black man that was there in company within the chamber was Hugh Moncrieff. Okay? Hugh Moncrieff is being described as a black man, brother to the Laird of Moncrieff. But the deponent knows not well whether or not it was Hugh Moncrieff. You know, they're saying this guy is black. Hey, I think that was him, Hugh Moncrieff. You know who that is historically? Look him up. Again, this is just a reference of black Europeans. You know, this is a book from 1713. And they're saying that might be Hugh Moncrieff, brother of the Lord of Moncrieff. Okay? A black man. Black man. So we're in this website. We're just going to real quick talk about the Balfour clan or people. So we're in here, Scott clans, and a little image of some of their castles. It says the Balfour clan takes its name from the barony of the same name and is located near the joining of the rivers Orr and Leven and Fife in the parish of Markinch, formerly belonging to a family which were long heritable sheriffs of the Fife. Balfour Castle was built upon their ancient possessions in the Vale of Strach of the Orr, a tributary of the Leven, near their confluence. Okay, so this is the history. The family of Balfour contains no less than 13 landed proprietors to that county of the name. The Balfours of Burley, the Fernie of Dumbog, and Denmine of Grange of Forret or Randerston, of Ratherney, of Northank, of Balbury, of Helbeth, of Lawleton, and of Banktown, Torrey and Boglio, and so on and so on. You guys see? So we are in the book Genealogical Collections Concerning Families in Scotland by Walter McFarn. All right. He's from the 1690. He was born in 1698, died in 1767. But this is a copy, a 1900 copy. But this is from primary sources. So we're on page 29 of this book. As you see in the top, family of Balfour, Bethune. All right, that was one of the families, the Bethunes. Down here it says that it is observed and reported for a truth that the race and people of Balfour and their descendants were always black. All right, you guys see that? They were always black, the Balfour and their descendants, and not beautiful and fair, thus the hijack, but that ever after this Lord of Craig married this Janet Hay, the Bethunes of Craig have ever been yellow-haired, for that most part and of beautiful countenances. So you guys see what they're trying to say? That before they somebody in their family, these are all black folks, right? Black, so-called black, dark complexion people. They one of them married a Janet Hay, and she after her people became more, I guess, lighter and yellow haired. But it's telling you that it was before that known, the truth that the race and people bowed for, and their descendants were always black, black Europeans. And we continue. Here we have the Historical Manuscripts Commission calendar of the manuscripts of the most honorable the Marquis of Salisbury, preserved at Hatfield House, Hertfordshire. This is volume 11, okay? And this is from 1906. We're on page 365, and this is in, in regards to a suspected Catholic or Jesuit associate, a person named Blackwell. And it's describing him here. And it says here, Gerard's discovery made the better be by observing this description of him and his habit to be a stature tall, high-shouldered, especially when his coat is on his back, black-haired, and of complexion swart. All right, swarthy, so swarthy, hawk-nosed, high-templed, and for the most part attired costly and defensively in buff leather, garnished with gold or silver lace, satin doublets, and velvet hose of all colors with cloaks corresponding, and rapiers and daggers gilt or silvered. His complexion, swarthy. Okay, complexion, swarthy. Blackwell, the Catholic Jesuit associate. In this report here, Black Europeans. Continuing, let's go. So now we are in the London Gazette. I believe that says number 455 right there. Published by Authority. All right, the London Gazette. And we're going to look at some, I believe it's like runaway ads for indentured servants, but this is in Europe. All right, yeah. It's the same thing like in the Americas. They're running away over there and everything. So we're going to go to a couple examples. One of these is very intriguing. You're going to see the description clearly, a Negro man. First example here, when it says here, William Tabor, lately a servant to Sir William Coventry, supposed to be age about 30 years, wearing a periwig, his own hair of a brown color, but very short, having lately shaved his head, his beard little and inclining to red, his complexion somewhat swarthy, okay, swarthy, dark complexion, having poke holes in his face, one leg somewhat shorter than the others, though not very differentiable in his ordinary going, okay? In the left side of his neck, about the top of his collar, having a wart. Ran away upon Friday night, last being the 19th of April, 1670, and has stolen from the said Sir William Coventry several parcels of plates and linen, etc., and is indebted to several persons. If any person shall cause him to be apprehended and give notice of it to the said Sir William Coventry, living in Suffolk, a teat, or to Richard Phillips at the White Hart, is the Strand, or Mr. Tom Robson, in Eyre Street near Piccadilly, be full have £10 for his pairs. All right, so they're offering £10 for his capture. This swarthy man. All right. So let's go to another example. Watch the next example, even better. It says, but there being just cause of suspicion that he will return for his former course of life, for he will not part with his cassock and gown at any price. Therefore, there are to give notice to all incumbents and others that whensoever he shall offer himself to the officiate in any of their churches, he may be hindered from his wicked design. And if he transgresses, he may be proceeded against according to the laws. Lest he should change his name, as he has done heretofore in some places, it is thought to fit to give this description of him. Okay, pay attention, guys. He is of low stature, of a swarthy complexion, and short frizzled hair. Okay, it says short frizzled hair. You guys see that? Frizzled hair, full eyed, and thick lips. All right, thick lips, swarthy complexion, frizzled hair. All right, should I say any more? About 40 or 50 years of age. In his travail in these parts, he had a woman and a child about with him. Okay, all these runaway ads, man. What's going on? Okay, so they're looking for this guy with a swarthy complexion who has frizzled hair and thick lips, a Negro man, a black European running away again, their servitude over there in Europe. So swarthy, black Europeans. We back in the Kirkland files, and we got this book right here, The Life of Joshua Wedgwood, from his private correspondence and family papers, with an introductory sketch of the art of pottery in England. This is volume one. This is by Eliza Mateyard and Joiah Westwood from 1865. So we're talking about Sir William Richard Chetwynd. This is page 381 of this book. We're going to get a reference of Mr. William Richard Chetwynd, a noble person here, right? And it says that succeeded his two elder brothers as third Viscount Chetwynd in 1767. He had been successfully Member of Parliament for Stafford and Plymouth, Envoy of Genoa, and Lord of the Admiralty. And upon the coalition of the ministry in 1742, he was made Master of the Mint, which post he seems to have held till he succeeded to his brother's title. He was known, pay attention, right, and much trusted confidant of Lord Bolingbroke, and the dearest friend of Lady Suffolk. In early life, he was familiarly called Black Will. Okay? He was called, hey, that's Black Will right there, man. Yeah, because why? Why is he called Black Will? As also, he was called Orinoco Chetwynd. Why was he called Orinoco? Orinoco, like South America, like Orinoco, where the Black Indians, yeah? They found a lot of so-called Black Indians, yeah? Orinoco Chetwynd, huh? From his dark complexion. They call him Black Will because of his dark complexion. Orinoco Chetwynd, man. He died in 1770, 3 years after his ascension to the title at a very advanced age, okay? Dark complexion, guys. Black Will or Orinoco Chetwynd, okay? Black Will, because of his dark complexion. So just to show you, again, Orinoco is in South America, but they try to add the hijack. The Orinoco means black or African, whatever, something African, as it says here. Orinoco, or the Royal Slave, is a work prose of fiction, right? This is a fictional book, right? They took the name, they hijacked the name Orinoco from America, right? It was first published in 1688 by William Cannon and reprinted later that year in the compilation of three histories by Mrs. A. Ban. The eponymous hero is an African prince from Coromantien who is tricked into slavery and sold to European colonists in Suriname, where he meets the narrator. Okay, again, a fictional book of a fictional story, but they're grabbing the Orinoco name from South America and applying it to somebody who's dark skinned, right? That was Black Indians they were enslaving. Black Indians, right? So when they call him Mr. William Richard Chetwynd, Black Will, because, or Orinoco Chetwynd, they mean a black person, a Negro. Remember, Negroes of the land, they were talking about Indians. So Black Will, because of his dark complexion, all right, a noble, a black European. And we continue with some more black Europeans. It says here in the book, the present state of Germany, in which has given the character, family, court ministers, interests, and alliances of every particular prince, his dominions, forces, etc. This is volume 1. This is from 1738. First, we got here page 96. Okay, it's talking about Frederick Augustus II, King of Poland, all right, and Elector of Saxony, was a prince of great stature, strength, and dexterity, of a swarthy but majestic countenance, okay? Swarthy, so called black. He's a Negro, he's a black European who, we just talking about Frederick Augustus II, King of Poland, and Elector of Saxony, swarthy. He had an infinite fund of generosity, good nature, and politeness, which would have made him shine. Though he had not been a prince in the circle of the ladies, he seemed to be made to please them, okay? Swarthy complexion. So, real quick, we're going to go to page 165 of this same book, and we're going to talk about Ernest Augustus, Elector of Hanover, father of George the First, okay? So, on page 165, it says that great prince who we just named, who was in some sort of a founder of the electorate and of its glory, was adored by his subjects. He was not of great stature, but well set. He had a swarthy complexion, okay? He had a swarthy complexion, and his countenance was full of sweetness and majesty. The make of his mind corresponded to that of his outward appearance, for he was the best of masters and the most indulgent of sovereigns. He was very mild and master of his passions, for the only time he was ever seen in anger was when the imperial resident, M. de Palm, in the memorial he left behind him, gave that prince the lie, upon which, clapping his hand to his sword, he said, that were it practicable, he would go to the gates of Vienna and demand satisfaction of the emperor. Okay, so he was pissed about that. But as you guys can see, swarthy complexion, okay? The father of George the First, swarthy complexion. So we're back in the CW files, and we're in this book. It's called The History of the Holy War, being an exact account of the expeditions of the kings of England and France and several other of the Christian princes for the conquest of Jerusalem and the rest of the Holy Land. Let me see. Yeah, the rest of the Holy Land, wherein a largely presented the great actions, battles, sieges, difficult marches, honorable retreats, admirable stratagems, regular conducts, and brave performances of the Christian armies in all said expeditions. Okay, and this is from the year 1686, but it's going to be referencing people from the Middle Ages. Okay, so we're on page 137 of this book, but before that, I just want to show you who they talking about. On page 136, the previous page, they're showing you that they're talking about Raymond the Third. So who are these people? Let me just read a little bit over here. Raymond the Third, Count of Tripoli, was born 1140 and died in 1187, right? Medieval times was the Count of Tripoli from 1152 to 1187. He was a minor when Nasari assassins murdered his father, Count Raymond II of Tripoli. His cousin King Baldwin III of Jerusalem, who was staying in Tripoli, made Raymond's mother, Hodierna of Jerusalem, regent. Raymond spent the following years at the royal court in Jerusalem. He reached the age of majority in 1155, after which he participated in a series of military campaigns against Nur ad-Din, the Zengid ruler of Damascus. In 1161, he hired pirates to pillage the Byzantine coastline in the islands to take vengeance on Byzantine Emperor Manuel I Komnenos, who had refused to marry his sister Melisende. He was captured in the Battle of Harim by Nur ad-Din's troops on 10th of August 1164 and imprisoned in Aleppo for almost 10 years. During his captivity, his cousin King Amalric of Jerusalem administered the county of Tripoli on his behalf. All right, so that's what we're gonna read about right now, and we're gonna get his description of what he looked like. So that Raymond III, it says here, of whom I now speak, who was the son of Raymond II, was by his father second cousin, and by his mother cousin german to King Amaury, the father of Sibylla, and uncle to the little king deceased. Being of this illustrious blood, he had also qualities answerable to the greatness of his birth, for his he was wife and judicious in counsel, wise, prudent, moderate, grave, serious, and extreme sober, speaking little and very reverse, though he had a spirit quick and piercing. So that's a little bit about him, right? Remember, he was captive, it says here. As for the rest, he was wonderful, cunning, civil, popular, and artificially complaisant to those with whom he had to do, but fierce and rugged to his dominate, domestics, where he acted without constraint, according to the dictates of his morose temper, which made itself known for saturnine and melancholy by the habit of his body, which was thin, large, and meager, his visage melancholy, his complexion swarthy. Okay, do you guys see that? Complexion swarthy. So swarthy. All right, swarthy. His hair black and lank, his nose hooked, his eyes quick and fiery, his whole physiognomy fierce and gloomy, which in despite of all the art which he made use of to sweeten it, made two visible appearances that he had at the bottom of his soul those untamed, tumultuous, and violent passions which were capable of transporting him to the last extremities of rage and wickedness, as made themselves manifest in that fearful manner which I am about to relate. Okay, oh yeah, he did some bad stuff, I guess. So I just wanted to show you guys we're doing this for Black Europeans, not even just black, but way, way back in medieval times. You know, these Europeans are pointed to Jerusalem, supposedly, right? What Jerusalem? His complexion is swarthy, okay? Raymond III of Tripoli. So swarthy. Black Europeans. We're in this book, a complete collection of state trials and proceedings for high treason and other crimes and misdemeanors from the reign of King Richard II. We got his description in the previous video, right? To the reign of King George II, with two alphabetical tables to the whole. This is by Emmeline Solom, Thomas Salmon, John Adams, and so on and so on. 1742, when they created this book. Got an interesting here description of people during a court case. We're going to go to it right now. So around page 105 of this book, it's talking about a court trial. Well, this one right here, it says the trial of the lady Alice Lisley at Winton for high treason, August 27, 1685. So they're saying high treason against King James, right? Against King James, as you can see the first paragraph here. All right. Well, we're going to go to a certain part of the case where they're interviewing some people in the trial. And I just want to show you their conversation so you guys can see how interesting this is. So on page 109, there's here an interrogation going on, right? By Dunn and LCJ. And LCJ says right here, give me a description of the man. These are the people who they're saying are the treason against King James, right? Dunn says he was a short black man. All right, remember, these are black, we're talking about Europeans here. He was a short black man. And then LCJ says, you say he was a short man. Dunn says, yes, he was so, my lord. LCJ or F says, was he a swarthy or a ruddy complexion man? And Dunn says, he was not ruddy, but swarthy. You guys see specifically, nah, he's straight, very dark. He's black, swarthy, so swarthy, not just ruddy. He was swarthy. LCJ, and what did he say to D? All right, and it goes on and goes on. All right, I'm going to show you another part, some more of this court case. So again, it says here, LCJ, pretty friend, mind that what thou hast said, and recollect thyself. I'll repeat it to thee, because thou shalt see that I remember it all very well. It seems that a man, a short black man, came to your house in Warminster Parish to get you to go to the message to Miss Leslie's to know whether she would entertain one Hicks. All right, so they're referencing the guy again. Over on the other side, the interrogation continues. Says, "Done, my lord. There were three in all. LCJ, who were those three? Pretty?" Dunn said, "Are done, my lord. There was the little black man that brought the message and two other people." LCJ, Pretty, describe what the other two people these were. And Dunn says, "One was full fat black man, a fat black man." Oh man. And the other was a thin black man. All three of them so-called black, right? LCJ, who was that thin black man? Dunn says, "My lord, I did not know him." LCJ, did you not fancy which was Hicks? Dunn, my lord, I never knew any of their names. All right. So he's trying to say probably that one of these so-called black men, black Europeans is Hicks, whoever Hicks is in this case, right? If you know the whole history behind this, they're saying Hicks might be one of these three black men, right? We're just talking about black Europeans. All right, we're going to get into this book now. We're back in the Kirkland Files. It says here, The Electress Sophia and the Hanoverian Succession. This is by Adolphus William Ward. Okay, this is the book we're going to get into from 1909 real quick. And over on page 43 of this book, under childhood and girlhood, is describing Sophia, Queen Sophia. Now, Queen Sophia is the mother of George I. She's also the daughter of Elizabeth Stuart and Frederick V, who we already got in previous videos, both her parents being described as dark complexioned, and their other children, their other sons. Now we got their daughter Sophia here being described. I'm going to show you. It says here, like most of her family, well, let's start from the beginning. It says she's with light brown hair, naturally falling into curls, of gay and embarrassed manners, of a well-shaped but not very tall figure, and with hearing of a princess, or bearing of a princess, sorry. Like most of her family, and especially like her favorite brother, Charles Lewis. Remember, he was dark. We got his descriptions in previous videos. Whom their mother, the queen, had been wont to call her little black baby. Remember, he was being called little black baby. And just like all the family, like most of her family, and just like her brother, who they were calling the little black baby, her own mother was calling her that, right? Elizabeth Stuart. She had the complexion of a brunette. So if they're saying her brother is dark, so-called black baby, brunette in this case, they mean the complexion, not the hair. That means like literally brown. What is the color of brunette? Brown, like another way of brown, a shade of brown. Sophia, even more than by their royal mien and handsome features. These Palatines, all right, who's the Palatines, were distinguished among other men and women. Okay, so these Palatines, just like Benjamin Franklin said, the Palatines were swarthy, these German Palatines. So you see, Sophia, the whole family is being described in different primary sources as dark complexion people. We talk about black Europeans. And please reference the previous parts of this playlist, Black Europeans History. All right?
It must have been quite a surprise to discover that your ancestor was a Muslim.
Sí, bastante.
Yes, a great surprise. This is because there had been a chronicle which dated back to the 16th century, in which the Guzman family had cleaned up its political and ethnic past. Guzman was said to have been born in León. They didn't just do this with the Guzman family, but with all the families that had doubtful ancestors, ancestors of doubtful race. Ancestors of doubtful race. They cleaned it all up.
Pues se va en una cosa, sobre todo en una sección que tiene.
We have a whole load of documents here from the Spanish Register, and they turn everything we know about Spanish history upside down.
Cambiamos de arriba abajo. Pero el español
Spanish are simply inventing history.
Back in the CW files, we're in this book, the Scots magazine. And this is from the 1780s, I believe. 17, what does that say? 87, I think. And it says volume about 60 something, I think, if I'm correct, right? So this is an old book from the 1700s. And it's going to describe two of these Scottish people at that time. The Scots magazine, 1700s. So on page 410 of this book, we got here a report of a robbery. Let's just read this part right here. It says here, an advertisement dated General Post Office, Edinburgh, August 8th, so 1787, right? Appeared in the newspapers, of which the following is the substance. It says here, the writer of the North Mail, which was dispatched from this office on the 5th instant, was attacked on the afternoon of the day following at the park dikes of Ponmurray, about halfway between Dundee and Arbroath, by two men who came out of a field of corn. All right, listen, cornfield, corn. This is over there in Europe, right? One of whom took hold of the horse and presented a pistol to the rider. So two men, this guy is working like he's like a postman, right? He's working. He's being robbed. He got attacked by two men, right? They took a hold of his horse, and one of the other guys had a pistol in his hand, right? Whilst the other carried off the mail, and the other one took the mail. Upon making search for the mail, it was soon found about half a mile westward from the place where the robbery was committed. Unfortunately, the whole contents and sire, so everything was still there. Both the men wore their own hair, were of a black complexion, black Europeans, black robbers. The man who took hold of the horse had on a striped duffel coat of a whitish color, and the other who carried off the mail had on a brownish coat, much patched. A reward of £50 is offered to such a small apprehend the offenders, okay? Black Europeans, all right? Don't matter what color, they're robbing. It could have been light-skinned folks, but just to show you guys, black Europeans all over the place. So we're in this book now, back in the Kirkland Files. We're talking about the Annals of the Artists of Spain. This is volume 1 by William Sterling Maxwell, 1891. And we got a reference to one of Charles V's granddaughters. All right, Charles V, the black man. Well, let me show you what they're saying about his granddaughter. So in this book, in regards to the Infanta Isabel, that's her name, Isabel. We're going to start from the beginning. It says, afterwards, that resolute archduchess, whose linen, unchanged during the 3-year siege of Ostend, gave the name to the tawny tint still known to French dyers and grooms as the color Isabel, seems about the same age as her brother, as she was only 2 years old at the time of his death. Her portrait must have been painted many years after its companion. Her countenance, both in features and expression, strongly resembled her father's, who loved her above all his other children, and spoke of her on his deathbed as the light and mirror of his eyes. And her swarthy complexion, again, so swarthy complexion, just like her father, huh? So her father is just like her, right? Her father is swarthy too, the son of King Charles V, right? So Philip, right? She's the daughter of Philip II. So her swarthy complexion somewhat justifies the sarcasms of Pierre Leroy and the Huguenot wits in the satire Menipé. These hereditary peculiarities are far too strong for beauty. Okay, so what is it? Their hereditary peculiar, her swarthy complexion. Granddaughter, Isabel, granddaughter of Charles V, okay? All these people, swarthy, all these people, so-called black Europeans. Now, again, shout out to Kirkland. We're going to show you something about the Satire Menipee written by the Huguenot Pierre Leroy. Listen to what she says about herself. We're going to go right to that primary source, the Satire Menipee. So this is it right here. Okay? This is it right here. In French, we're gonna get a translation of it. As you guys see, there's a word here highlighted, brunette. All right, brunette. The French use that word. Who's saying that? What is saying here? Let me show you. So it says here, the satyr Menipe Isabella describes herself as Orlan je suis brunette, right? Je suis says I am, right? So translation says, yet I am brunette. That's Isabel, right? Friend, do not be alarmed by it, for I desire to be loved just as much as one who is more white than I. Wow. Say, man, don't hate me. Don't like me less just because I'm brown, I'm dark complexion, I'm brunette. You see what it's saying there, guys, in these primary sources? The Huguenot wrote this. All right? I just want to show you guys. That's real history right here. All right, guys, now we are in the back in the CW files. We're in volume 8 of the London Chronicle, number 548, or the Universal Evening Post. This is actually, as you guys can see, from Saturday, June 28th to Tuesday, July 1st, 1760, okay? This is all the way back from 1760 newspaper, all right? We got another advertisement here of another black European. Let me show you. Okay, first we go here, page 23. We got here in the newspaper, William Otter, age 26 years, 5 feet 6 inches high, born at Fairfield, near Mansfield, Nottinghamshire, of a swarthy complexion, okay, so-called black swarthy complexion, short, black hair, strong made, a laborer, and floops a little, deserted the 17th of June. These are deserters, okay, soldiers who deserted, right, and had on them an old drill frock, light-colored waistcoat, plain hat, and regimental breeches. Lieutenant Colonel Wishett's company. All right, another guy here, Robert Baker, age 23 years, 5 feet 6 inches and half high, short black hair, swarthy complexion, so swarthy, so-called black, and one of his upper 4 teeth broken, supposed to be gone to Ashdown near Saffron Walden, from whence he was initiated about a year ago. All right, whoever gets this guy, hey, you about to get paid. These swarthy guys who deserted, right? These black Europeans. Moving on, another page. On page 111, it says here there's an extract of a letter from Portsmouth, July 29. Remember, this is 1760. Just go down to this part. It says, on Sunday evening, the poor man sold a handkerchief at a public house near the place where he destroyed himself. Part of the money he paid for some bread and cheese and beer, which he had called for, and with the remainder he supposed he bought the rope. He was a handsome, gentle, well-made black man. All right, black man. He had on, when he was cut down, a black coat, black waistcoat, and black plush breeches, black stockings, and a gold black hat. His shirt was so dirty that it must have been worn a fortnight. He was seen sauntering near the place. Okay, so something happened to this guy. All right. Something happened to this so-called black man. Here we are on page 125 of this newspaper, and we have another deserter, or I guess that's what they're saying. We have Robert Johnson here, 29 years of age, 5 feet 7 inches high, a stout, lusty, well-made man, born at Jarmouth in Norfolk, by trade a brass founder, black complexion. Do you guys see that? Black complexion, black eyes, short black hair, a scar on his forehead, had on, when he left the party, a blue great coat with white flat metal buttons, a red and yellow silk handkerchief on his neck, a red striped flannel waistcoat with stone buttons, leather breeches, and large pewter shoe buckles. He has used to sell goods about the country and travel with 2 children and a woman. He says he is a freeman of Jarmouth and is supposed to be in Norfolk. All right, a freeman, huh? A black freeman, all right, over there in Europe. Black Europeans all over the place here. All right, so real quick, we're going to be talking about John V of Portugal. All right, we're going to go back into the Kirkland files. Just going to show you who he is and how he's been whitewashed, right? So it says here, Don John V, or João Francisco Antonio José Bento Bernardo, born in 1689, okay? He passed away in 1750, known as the Magnanimous or Magnanimo and the Portuguese Sun King, Rei Sol Português, was king of Portugal from 9 December 1706 until his death in 1750. His reign saw the rise of Portugal and his monarchy to new levels of prosperity, wealth, and prestige among European courts. This is the image they have of him. Yes, he's been whitewashed, but check out the hair they got on him. You see that hair? Looking woolly. See that hair? It's looking woolly. Watch how it says he's described as a dark complexion person. This painting does not look like the primary source is describing him. I'm going to show you right now. So in the book, right here is called A Trip to Portugal, or a view of their strengths by sea and land, and exact list of their forces with the names of their regimental officers, the situation of their frontier towns, and the true prospect of their fortifications, to which is added a catalogue of their kings, of the places they were born, and the length of their several reigns, and the days of their deaths, also the manner of their interments, and a letter from a volunteer at Lisbon to his friend in London. So this is from 1704, say, all right? London, printed and sold by John Nutt near Stationers Hall in 1704, okay? 1704. So over on page 30 of this book, in regards to John V of Portugal, all right? If you read the whole chapter, you'll see who they're talking about. And it says here, and now I am speaking about the royal family. It may not be improper to describe to you the person of his Portuguese Majesty, who is of a tall stature and swarthy complexion, okay? John V of Portugal, the one I just showed you on Wikipedia, he's actually swarthy complexion, so-called black, dark complexion. A great lover of manly exercises and much given to horsemanship. He is indefatigable in his application to business, very close and tenacious of his designs and counterfeits his intentions so well of keeping a good understanding with the French king and the French ambassador. All right, so that's him, of swarthy complexion, John V of Portugal, black European. We got another one real quick before we go into the dismount. All right, so we're in the University of Michigan library, digital collections, okay? And we're going to be reading this book right here. It's called A Compendious Chronicle of the Kingdom of Portugal, from Alfonso I King to Alfonso VI, now reigning together, with a cosmographical description of the dominions of Portugal by John Dawsey. And guys, this is from 1663, all right? From 1663. This is from the 1600s. This is a digital collection that I was able to find. Shout out to Kirkland, all right? And then we're in the Kirkland files, remember? Now on page 54, it talks about John II, the 13th king of Portugal, all right? John II. It says here, John II, succeeding to his father Alfonso V, was born about the year 1456. All right? This is from the 1400s, this guy. Remember, this book's written in 1600s, and entered into the government of his kingdom at the age of about 28 years. A prince who, being educated under his father's arms, could not but be partaker of some of his virtues, an honorable emulation of which he showed in his first coming to be crowned by a prosperous expedition against the Moors. All right, so you see, this guy's fighting the Moors, but he's a black man. I'm gonna show you right now. Check it out. So on page 55 of this book, it says here, he was of a very swarthy complexion. Very swarthy, okay? Very swarthy, very so-called black, very dark complexion. That's John II from the 1450s, right? 13th king of Portugal, okay? Very swarthy complexion, but with all of a pleasant countenance, affable and courteous, a great lover of justice, and more inclinable to severity than mercy. He was especially careful in seeing the laws against murder rigorously, but in execution, being often just, used to say that he would pardon a murder that commit is great. Okay, so very swarthy. You can go verified on the original if you like, page 55. Okay, John the Second is very swarthy, so-called black. Can I get a hashtag so swarthy? So swarthy. Yeah. And that's it for today, guys. And this Black Europeans Uncovered episode. Shout out to all the people who helped out with the research. Thank you for that. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As you guys can see, there's so many references of these people being dark complexion, so-called black, Negroid people, all right, black Europeans. I hope you see after all the videos in this playlist, right? Check out the playlist, the complete playlist, start from video 1, Black Europeans History. That's what it's called, Black Europeans on my playlist tab. You can come find it there. Check out all the episodes you guys see. It's overwhelming. When are they going to start updating the history? When is everybody going to get out the spell and wake up? All right. Europe was very, very swarthy, just like John II right here, so-called black. All right. And that doesn't mean they were Africans. All right. Dodge the hijacks. But I appreciate you guys tuning in today. I'm going to give you your day back. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. All right, we got definitely a lot more coming when it comes to Black Europeans investigation, for sure. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for sticking around all the way to the end of the video. Shout out to the contributors. Shout out to my Patreons. Shout out to all my channel members. Shout out to my moderators. Shout out to the longtime followers. Thank you. Thank you for holding me up. Appreciate you guys. Much love and respect. Pura vida, mi gente. Hawaii.